Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Vincent Minotti and we are starting the video in a different spot today. We are currently working on the polished intake and my valve covers for the stroker motor. We've gotten it all blocked down and sanded. So fast forward back to my house to having those valve covers blocked down and sanded out and getting all the scratches out of them. They're now going to be polished, which I'm going to do tomorrow morning when I head back over there because I'm using a different type of buffing wheel, a desk buffer or a table buffer, if that's what y'all want to call it. So I'm heading now to start to do the rest of my intake and get my intake runners all done because I'm going to do the top. The top needs light buffing, along with these runners need light buffing as well. So I rather have had the top done with the big table buffer, and then this is going to be done by hand with some smaller buffing wheels. And then once I go back over it to polish it, so this is going to be a polishing brush and then or wheel, and then this one is going to be the cutting wheel that I'm going to use on this. So I'm going to do two different passes. I'm going to have, I kind of already did this one, so this one looks pretty well, but you can tell the difference between these. This one has a little bit done to it, and then this one has absolutely nothing done to it. It was polished in the past, so luckily I don't have to do that much more work to it, but I do want them looking perfect when it goes on that mode. Hey guys, I was editing the video and I realized that I really didn't add in my thought process behind why I'm doing this all by hand and why I just didn't bring it to somebody to do it, as it'd probably be faster. But it really wouldn't be, because now I'm going to have to go to work and pay for somebody else to do it when I can do the entire job for maybe $20, $25 in material and then a day of my time, 2 days of my time, when I would have to pay somebody $1,500 or $1,000 to $1,500 to be able to do this intake, sand down the rough casting from Holley, then sit there and polish it for however long it's going to end up taking to polish it, and then now sand down the valve covers, buy the valve covers, and have them polish them. So, you know, they could be sitting there for a week, or they could be sitting there for a month while I'm waiting for someone else's parts to get done, and then they finally get to mine when I'm paying them an astronomical fee. Or I take out 25 bucks out of my own pocket, take a day of my own time, get the experience of doing it, have better process maybe next time doing the same thing on another car. And it really works out because I keep the money in my pocket, I get experience, and I get to show you guys how to do it as well. So that's my thought process. So it seems like we're getting a pretty good polish on it so far. I mean, it's coming out pretty well. That's the one that I just did on the other side. Super shiny. This one I have not done yet, just for comparison, the difference. And then this will also be gone over again with a polishing pad. So right now I'm just doing kind of a cut on it, and then I'll polish it next. But not very harsh compound, and it's coming out really well so far. So a little update, it's about 30 to 45 minutes later. I just got done with the first cut on all of them, and they are looking absolutely phenomenal, especially this right here. It's super shiny, coming out really well. Up here, first cut is looking already like a mirror, and I'm going to do one more cut with either this wheel or that new wheel over there, or I'm going to go down to this polishing wheel and get rid of the coarse cut and go to a polishing cut and start polishing the lip polishing all this and have this side completely done. Then we're going to flip to the other side and get that side done. There is a lot of work to do and to get done. So I will see you guys in a few hours. Okay, so we are back and we are moving on to the other side. The other side is extremely dull. You can tell really well by the fuel rail adapters on the sides of the runners how dull this really is. If you scroll back in the video to the other side, you can see really how dull it was. We went over it with the circle brush or round brush to get these edges down in here and down in there and then here as well. So I'm going to repeat the entire process on this side and we should be done, I'd say probably another 2 hours. Alrighty, so we finished up the intake last night and we are moving on to the motor right now, which we just plugged up the oil feed for the oil pump for the wet sump, and then now we are putting on the dry sump oil pan. I cleaned up all the edges with some Scotch-Brite on the back and then just some brake cleaner on the top so it dries up. Alright, so now that we finished up plugging that, we're going to put this on, but first we're going to do the timing cover. So the timing cover will go on and then we'll put some Permatex here, and I got the front timing cover back on, and now we're going to clean up the edge of this, and I got to clean back up the edge of this because it's all oil, and then we'll be able to put it on with a brand new gasket and some seal. So it's now the next day of working on the oil pan and the timing cover. We did end up having some issues yesterday, so I did cut it a little short as me and my dad were trying to figure out why exactly the holes weren't lining up completely. This is a full custom pan, so you know things are going to be different. They're not going to be completely exact like if a CNC machine did, because these are handmade. We were just having some issues with the bolt hole, with like 2 of the bolt holes, and then we also, well, I didn't account for the fact that you have these really long bolts with the factory pan that go all the way through. So this is how long the normal bolt is, and it sticks like that down in here, and it's about that high because the pan is normally about that high on a stock pan. So I ended up having to go out, find some bolts, got those in. I really forgot about that, it was a stupid mistake. So we took actually a bigger bolt first with 3 nuts, put it on the back of it, and then tightened it down so that this seal wouldn't come undone since it was freshly done. It's kind of just a quick little jig for the moment being, and then we went to Home Depot to go and get some new bolts. So this pan is from Kevco. I had a 12 AN feed put in where the inlet of your filter used to be, because I'm going to have a remote filter since this is a dry sump system. So this is now going to be the feed, as there's going to be a external pump going to be sitting on this side up here where the AC bracket used to go. I have 3 sumps, so it's going to be a 4-stage dry sump pump, and then I have the drain for the turbo that is on that side. It's a pretty simple setup. It's all Gen 4, as I went over in the last video. So I have the knock sensors down here on the bottom, which we're going to have to turn around for the mounts. So that's going to be our next thing, is figuring out the mounts for it, because it is going to be a little different. Let me just set this in there, try and do it with one hand. The thing that I'm working on right now is just small stuff. You know, it's never going to be absolutely perfect because I don't have all the money in the world to do this build, and I would like the car to run by the end of this year. So I am replacing just these bolts. I didn't give them to the machine shop, I already had them. So just getting that done real quick so that it looks decent if you look down inside. We did finish the intake manifold. I'm leaving the lid off because we're gonna finish that up a little better, and then this I still have to get the compound off of, and then once I get the compound off of it, I'll take some mothers and just hand polish it. That'll be off camera, but I'll show you guys once it's really shined up and out in the sun. The car is pretty much ready to go. Or sorry, the drivetrain. I have to do the clutch on the back of here after I get this done, and then I found a few scratches in the sides that we can't get out with the buffer, so I'm going to wet sand these down a little bit more, and then I'm going to take them back over onto the bench grinder or buffer and polish these back down again. The next thing is going to be doing the bushings, so I'll be in the next video, but for right now we're just going to get the drivetrain done. I need to cut a piece of wood out right here and set the rear end and subframe on the back of the platform, but other than that, I'm going to cut that piece of wood, put these bolts in, and I will see you guys in a second. Okay, so a few minutes later, I got the bolts done on the motor, so all those actually match and they look a lot better instead of those old dirty ones. This will all be cleaned up for the intake to go on, so don't worry about the dirtiness of this. Motor's pretty much good now, so we can take that, start lining up the brackets. First, I'm going to flip this over and put the subframe onto the differential, so then we can slide it to the back, because I just did these two sets now, and then I put one strut underneath this one. So I also didn't talk about this platform really at all. It's two 4x8s, and then I believe we bought 4 other 4x8s to cut into 37-inch strips. We did doubles all the way up here for really good strength, because we're going to turn this into a table afterwards. We bought 6,000-pound wheels, and then I did a single back here just to make a little platform for the rear end, because the rear end's kind of light. And this is pressure treated. I can't remember how thick this is, 1.25 inch pressure treated wood, and then I have pressure treated underneath for each corner, so one on each corner for each wheel, so that'll hold a little bit better. I don't know the exact height of this, but hopefully it's going to fit underneath of that. But we made it just wide enough so that underneath each of these pads it'll be about 3 inches inside, so when we lower this down, it can just come right on top of the drivetrain, and then we'll go underneath, we'll bolt the bolts up under for the subframes, and then it'll be done. And then we can roll this out, we can cut this in half, we can put it over here, because all these parts will all be gone, since we're putting the roll cage in, the dry sump system, the radiator is going in the rear onto the roll cage. So, and then all this wiring is all junk. So I took all that out. So that won't be in the car anymore. There's a few things that I'm going to save. The interior parts are going to be going in the car, because once we lower this down and we have the drivetrain in, we're going to take these back out. We're going to put them to the side, and we're going to do, so we have this light, we're going to do another light here, most likely another light there, and then we have a few other goodies like a hose reel that's going to go up top, and then some more wiring and electrical that's going to go on the roof. So then we have a little bit better of a work area, because currently we have a nice Craftsman toolbox that has absolutely nothing in it right now, because we can't use it. There's no room. And then we also don't have a bench with a vise or anything like that, because there's no room in here. Another add-on is that we're going to have AC in the garage, which is going to be really nice, especially on these hot summer days. As you can see, I'm sweating. I've been out here for like an hour and a half, and within the first 30 minutes, I'm already sweating. So that'll be an amazing add-on to the garage. We will end up painting the garage and taking all these tubs out, thank God, because these are kind of like an eyesore on each side. I just had to do this because I wanted extra room along the walls for the compressor and all the other stuff that we're gonna end up putting there. But that's enough of the garage. I'm going to get to putting this onto the back of the platform, so then we can line up this later when my dad gets here and put it on the front. We'll be setting up the clutch over there tonight, so that'll probably be at the end of this video. I don't know if it's going to have to be shimmed. So what I mean by shimming a clutch is you're not actually shimming the clutch plates or the flywheel or the pressure plate. You're actually shimming your throwout bearing. So there's going to be round little plates that you have to get for this. Hopefully it'll be good. It's you have 0.080 and 0.1000, so 1,000ths and 800ths that you have to be within. So you have a 200ths that you can be in between this and the clutch. So we'll see how it's going to work out, because I have to measure from, I believe, here to here, and then you have to measure from the points on the clutch to the out exterior of the bell housing, so that'll be going on. But for right now, we are going to be getting to this, wet sanding, polishing, and setting up the rear end. So this is the stuff that I get myself into. I'm slowly trying to turn this around. I have my sister out here finishing, or holding the, wrong way, holding the thing for me so I don't go down the driveway. But yeah, just slowly kind of crab walking it, because I had to flip over this whole unit so then I could put the subframe on, and that took a little bit more than I expected to be able to do. Gotta clear that real quick. Set it underneath the car, the motor will go there, and this should be enough room for the subframe, the motor, and then the torque tube. If not, then I'll just add another piece of wood right there and we'll move it back even farther. But I think it should be fine. But that's a big step. Got the transmission on now and the differential, and it's all sealed. Thank you. But okay, so I've gotten everything. I got the differential mounted onto the subframe. This is looking great down here. Look at it like this. This is how it's supposed to go. That pad's there, that pad's there. This is all completely braced. It doesn't move. This isn't gonna move at all with all the weight on it. And then I already have the bolts in there, so I don't have to worry about any of that being undone. So I set this up, so the motor is going to set on here, which is also billet braced with those billet parts right there. And then these mounts right here. We have to get the bolts a little bit later. I'm going to put this shifter on right now. I'm going to move this forward a bit. Alright, so I moved the torque tube forward. We're going to take a piece of Scotch-Brite real quick. Cut it out. Just a small piece. Don't need a lot. Save that for later. Just barely take this little bit of stuff off. It's been sitting for a little while there. I want to make sure it's clean before I put it on. Since it's a new build, I want everything to be pretty much clean when I put it on. That's why I cleaned all the rest of the parts and the torque tube and put all the time into that, because you know, someone takes this apart one day, like say I end up, hopefully I never sell this car, but one day I sell it and they take it apart and they're like, oh, you know, they put all this money into this car and they left 24 years of shit on it. Like, that's gonna look so good for me when someone else goes, oh yeah, this kid built it, but you know, there's all this stuff on it. So you're just gonna tap this in. But basically, this has to be on first to be able to slide through this hole sitting right here. When the torque tube comes and bolts up to the transmission. I haven't thought about getting a setup for this yet. I might end up putting a 6AN fitting on here before I bolt it up, because I don't think that there's enough room for me to get I don't think there's enough room in that hole for me to get a wrench in there. So I think I'm gonna have to do that first, which kind of sucks because I don't know how much line I need, and I don't think I want to put another extension onto that. It's going to be long and it might touch somewhere. I don't think it will, but it's all the more for something to come up and hit it. I don't want that. But that's done. That's pinned. We can put this through here, but I have to set up the clutch first before I can do that, which is going on the back of the motor. But let's get to now polishing the valve covers. I'm gonna grab a bucket and fill it with water, and then we're gonna get to wet sanding. Alrighty, so I grabbed a bucket of water and the valve cover. I already started doing the valve cover, sanding it down, wet sanding it with 600 grit. So it's starting to come out, starting to take out those deeper scratches that are sitting in there. They're not super deep as if what you guys are thinking, but they're minuscule, but I want them gone. I want to see if I can get it completely sanded down. The only problem with these valve covers is that they have a rough casting to them. They're not super rough, but the scratches are still there from when they milled the entire valve cover. So I'm trying to get all of those out from them milling it. They're coming out slowly but surely, but it's just gonna take some time of me sitting here and sanding them. The other night when we were finishing up the runners on the intake manifold, we actually took this, and before I was gonna go and hold, what is that, like 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds for, you know, excess of 30 minutes on a wheel standing up. I decided to do this. I took the bracket, or not the bracket, but the brace in between the two brackets on the differential, and it came out really good. It's not dull anymore. If you guys go back to the video before this in the playlist, you guys can see that it is a lot duller than this. And it almost looked like what the subframe does that's sitting right here. That's pretty much the difference of polish on it. So that'll match the rails that'll be coming along from the differential to the transmission. So everything will match up pretty well, and then the transmission is all polished and billet as well. Alrighty, so the valve covers are finally done. You can kind of see that they're nice and dulled down again. Did it with 600, so you can't really feel any of the scratches inside of it. I don't know if you're going to be able to see any of the scratches. Maybe I can see it in the daylight, but all the massive scratches that were in it before are now out. So these are going back over to use the bench grinder and start polishing them out, so then they end up looking like my intake once again. And like these, which will be kind of sick. Maybe we can polish these up before they go on, but I believe that we're going to be putting these on today. The only problem that we ran into with getting these billet engine mounts is for the fact that the bolts don't go through these holes. So it doesn't go through the right or the driver side hole, but it goes through the passenger side hole. The passenger side hole is bigger than the driver side. So we're going to end up having to drill out the passenger side or the driver side a little bit more for this bolt to be able to slip into it, for this motor to set kind of even. When we put the motor in last time, we weren't able to take this out, and we also had this in already, and there wasn't really any going back from it. It wasn't like this, it was just everything was in the car and we were able to get it in, slid in, and the bolts done. That was, I think, the worst headache that I've ever had trying to get a motor into this car. But we're now here, so it's going to make it a lot easier. We're going to be able to do it right, make it so it fits, slides in real easy, and then we can take it out if something ever happens to the motor really easy as well. Finish up this video here in my room as I'm finishing editing it actually right now as we speak. This video, I have a few things that are going wrong with the oil pan and clearance at the moment with the subframe, so I will tell you guys all about that in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.